yesterday we had a very good first day of the tournament. I think we had a couple of very good games, and we also had a very funny series with Bling, who played
Yeah.
surprisingly well. We like to joke
It was
about it.
sad, wasn't it? Like,
No,
it
it
was
was
so good.
heartbreaking.
Like, the first game he played and then he wins it, and suddenly he's like the UK champion there. And I really was hoping that he could take the series, but yeah. He was pretty mad about the last game too. That gas deal, that really, that
I know.
wasn't
Bling is
happy.
just like, why does this guy have to cheese me? Why doesn't he
Yeah.
dare to play me straight up? Well, Sam, you're just very good at this game. It's going to be a lot of fun today. Like the Muslim already mentioned before, people will advance, people will be eliminated. We're going to kick things off with an elimination match between ShoWTime and Hyun. I had to double check. I was like, it is Hyun here, right? Yes, it is
Yeah.
Hyun. That's going to be a very fun match. Hyun, of course, one of the Zergs that we've seen the most of the last few years in StarCraft 2. I don't think there is anybody that has more registered matches in like a database, let's say like Eligulak as Hyun has. Maybe MC, but these two guys, they have played in everything. ShoWTime, still a little bit of a newer phase, but a very fun and exciting phase.
What you actually said is really right. Like, one of the things that's amazing about Hyun and a few other Koreans too is that even though they are already on the top of the world and they're attending all these tournaments, these offline events, they just come back home to Korea and they immediately start playing the online cups once again. Just like getting the games out there, farming the little tournaments too, and he's just been out there for like ages. And against ShoWTime, of course, it's going to be an interesting one. We've been talking about ShoWTime's PvZ quite a bit. The problem is that he was very strong in the matchup. Then he lost his WCS challenger match against El Azul. Now yesterday against Jaedong, also a few mistakes. Even though in the second game he looked really strong and it looked like he could turn it around. But well, today he has to prove himself again in the same matchup, and he is in a group with 3 Zerg players, so he knew that before coming to the tournament. And I'm very interested to see if he could like change it up now, if he has a different strategy for Hyun. He had time to prepare, so maybe he has a shot here.
Yeah, I definitely think he has a shot, but I do think what the Muslim mentioned yesterday is more true than ever. At a certain point, you will start losing a lot in a matchup, and then it's not even that you necessarily became worse at it, you just start second-guessing yourself over and over time, and this is something that can't happen to ShoWTime. I believe our first map of this Best of 3 is going to be played on Vani Research Station. That's a map where I've seen ShoWTime play some amazing PvZ on, where in general he's very confident. I'm not sure yet what map number 2 and 3 is, perhaps we can take a look at that. If not, we're just going to go ahead and hop into our very first game of the day, as we got at least 6 Best of 3s for you over here, maybe even more than that. It depends a little bit on the schedule, as they like to say over here.
Yeah. We have our Group A and Group B that we're going to follow throughout the entire day. So, of course, we're not only going to have ShoWTime as a foreigner playing here, but later on we're also going to bring in the matches of Bunny, which is going to be very exciting since he's currently in the winner's match. And he is going to face another Protoss player. He took out MC in his first match yesterday, and today he's going up against Patience. That's going to be a real good one. It would, of course, be great if we had a foreigner advance as the first place in his group. But now we're focusing on our PvZ at hand, and here on Vani Research Station, our first map in the series, all the way up to the top of the map. We're having our Protoss player from Germany. It is ShoWTime. ShoWTime yesterday with a loss against Jaedong, unfortunately not able to take a map, and today he's going up against another Korean Zerg player all the way down to the bottom of the map. We're having the Hyun-believable. It is, of course, Hyun.
And now that I'm suddenly looking at this match, I'm thinking about it. We've been talking a lot about ShoWTime, but Hyun is actually a very interesting case so far. Let's not forget, in 2013, 2014, it was all Hyun. In every single tournament, in all those WCS Americas, he always had good runs. He was always on top of the WCS table. I have no idea how many points Hyun has gathered so far in this year, but I have the feeling it's definitely not a whole lot. And it's actually something that has been relatively unspoken of. Like, we just all kind of take it like, oh yeah, Hyun, he's not, the player that he used to be. But why is that? Maybe he's attended a few less tournaments, and of course, a lot of people will say, especially the diehard StarCraft fans, well, he's back in Korea right now. Now he finally faces some real competition again. But Hyun, at his absolute best, is capable of fighting the absolute best as well. But he has to bring his A++ game to those tournaments. And so far, this has just not been the year of Hyun at all. Now again in the loser match, this is a very important series for him. I just kind of went into the series with a very relaxed mind, like, that's going to be a fun PvZ. But the more that I think about it, the more I think that this series is actually very big for him.
There's also a lot of pressure on Hyun, not only because of that, but because ShoWTime is a player that took out Hyun just recently in the Fragpad Masters with a 3-1. So I don't really think that Hyun expected that at all. And now he's playing in this tournament where he didn't win a map yet. He lost 2 already. We're seeing Hyun going for the gold expansion here, by the way, immediately on screen, which is something that we've seen yesterday when Jaden was playing against ShoWTime 2. Back then, ShoWTime trying to apply some early pressure with one of his zealots. But yeah, you're completely right. Like, there's a lot of line on Hyun. Of course, it's also about his reputation here. He really wants to show his fans what he can do. It's about pride. And losing against ShoWTime in a tournament like Fragbite Masters is definitely something that he will remember here, and which is going to play a role.
He did very recently had a big victory, I believe, in was it Pro League or no? I forgot what it was, but I know he had a very big victory, and then he went on stage and he said, "Well, I really wanted to win this series because a lot of people said I wouldn't be capable of winning this one." And then he came back and he did win that series. Maybe it was against, I think it was against Lucira in the SSL. I think that may have been it, but I'm not 100% sure. Either way, it's still not Hyun's year yet, and he definitely wants to have a deep run here, because let's be honest, if this was 2013, 2014, you look at this tournament and you're like, well, Gfinity, foreign tournament, foreign country, Hyun is going to be there, probably make it to the final, if not win it. You know, that was just a given.
And talking about him in the final, last year when we had Gfinity playing with G3, he was in the final. He played against Bunny, and that was when Bunny really took down Zerg players left and right. He was just playing so damn strong in the matchup, and he was able to take Hyun out, something that very few people believed he would be able to do, and it was amazing to see that. And of course, Hyun still coming in second place, which was great, but he expected to win that final, and he wants to show at Gfinity that he can pull it off. Scouting, of course, has already gone through. You have ShoWTime with a clear idea of what's going on in the game right now. And he's adding additional gateways already for potential pressure against that gold expansion.
Yeah, but he's also getting a sentry. And the sentry surprises me a tiny bit, because I have the feeling that if you want to be aggressive, you're not going to get a sentry. This is different than what he did yesterday, though. So it's very important that you just mentioned that. Because yesterday was just a single Zealot. Then he threw down a Stargate, I believe, with an Oracle. And then he went up to, another base on the low ground. This time he's adding 3 more gates. It's not just 2. It's 3 more. Does he have a Propad on the map? Yes, he actually has a Pylon out on the map already. The gases, we mentioned this yesterday, are quite late for a Zerg when they go for this build, which means speed won't be ready until 7 minutes and maybe 40 seconds or something insane like that. That's probably going to be the timing. So if ShoWTime starts warping in Stalkers, he has to make sure he drops a force field. Keep those links out, ShoWTime. 1 link gets in, but the sentry's gonna win that fight, right? Well, oh no, he doesn't!
Wow, the sentry is down.
That's really frustrating, because now he's gonna be forced to warp in another unit at home, and he needs to get this temporary wall up. But it's not 100% over yet. Wow, that Pylon is very close. But ShoWTime right now, he should start warping in Stalkers, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was really, really bad for him. Losing that 1 sentry back at home, suddenly he needs to spend another 100 gas.
God.
And again, the links come in. 2 of them are there. He pulls the Jones, or the probes, trying to make sure that that sentry survives at least this time. But Hyun already scouting what's going on at the bottom of the map. The links still in the base. Oh, it could not be worse for ShoWTime.
Oh man, that's so unfortunate. That came down to such a minor moment. Will that Zergling kill that sentry or not? Because if that sentry would have survived, the other links wouldn't have been able to work on that Pylon. It would have been a completely different ballgame. Now, everything is just falling apart for ShoWTime already. This is just a disastrous opening for him. And I think by now he has accepted that, alright man, my plan has just completely and utterly failed. I'm just going to transition into something else. That is a ruddy wall, by the way, if I've ever seen one. That is like the ugliest wall a Protoss player can possibly have. This is something you see when you let the AI play against each other, you know? It's like 3 pylons and a Zealot in the middle of it.
He was forced into it. I mean, like, the only thing that he could do was throw down 2 additional pylons to wall it off. And the problem, of course, is that with that, he's also lacking the minerals to warp in additional units down at the bottom. He transitions into a Forge now, trying to play passive here. But the whole idea with his build and throwing down the 3 additional gateways was to just put pressure on these bases that Hyun has. Hyun deflected that already with just a bit aggression at the top. And now suddenly he's in an amazing position. He's losing a fair amount of Zerglings here at the top, but he still has his tech going, he has good mining, and he's just droning up behind it.
He's actually going to get all of these links, so this is kind of nice for Hyun, but I couldn't agree more with everything you just said. ShoWTime had an ID, and the last thing he wanted is to let that fall apart by, what was it, 4, 5, 6 slow Zerglings that were on the top side of the map. That was completely unnecessary. There are way more Zerglings right now on the low ground than ShoWTime anticipated for, so that means he's going to end up losing 3 sentries. Maybe even a 4th one as well. Yes, he is going to lose the 4th one. Man, this is an absolutely disastrous game so far for ShoWTime. Nothing is going his way.
This is a massacre. Right now, everything is falling apart for the German Protoss player. He loses 4 of the sentries. That's the 5th sentry in total. That's 500 gas down the drain right there. He's trying to establish a third base because he knows that Hyun is way ahead in economy. Not only in 3 bases, but also with that goal expansion. And Hyun, with everything that he has, with his tech nearly completed, he's just rushing units up to the top. Again, the sentry is exposed. This time the force fields are there. There's not even a cannon in production. There is no way for him to hold that there. The Nexus is not going to be completed for a photon overcharge, and there are just way too many Zerglings for ShoWTime to handle.
Yep, he just lost too many sentries before. He was forced to warp in those sentries again, but that's not going to matter. I think these Zerglings even have +1 armor already, as +1 attack is on the way. But oh no, actually, the +1 attack was the first upgrade he was going for, but that doesn't change the grand scheme of things. And he just killed 4 or 5 sentries again and got a cancel on this Nexus. He's also getting 2 Hydralisk Dens at the same time. First I thought it was a mistake, but since he's getting both upgrades at the same time, I feel that, you know, this was a thing a long time ago, right? The double Hydra Den push.
Right at the beginning, actually, when it first changed, then we saw that quite a bit, and Zerg's always trying to go for that timing. Fell off, but in this case he has the resources to pull it off, so why not go for it? He's rushing in with Zerglings again, and all these Zerglings just stall out for time. This time he might actually hold.
No, he's gonna get the Nexus again, because he's a +1 Zerglings caller. +1 Zerglings are very strong, and he's actually easily able to get that Nexus. He's gonna get the sentries again. He might even be able to cancel that pylon too. What a frustrating game for ShoWTime.
He's gonna get everything now. He doesn't even need the Hydras.
It's just going to be a Zergling victory. I was going to try to run into the base. Okay, ShoWTime did take care of that. Let's take a look at the unit's lost resource tab right now. And let's take into consideration that Hyun has been on a gold base for the entirety of this game. So he's been mining way more than ShoWTime. And ShoWTime has lost way more resources than Hyun did. Well, that's just a nightmare scenario for Pro Tools to be in.
And of course now the Hydras are going to start to cross the map in just a few seconds. There's already a swarm of units up to the top. And there's nothing that ShoWTime has to deal with Hydralisk. Ideally you want to have Storm, you want to have Colossus, you want to have something, at least a couple of force fields to split them. He doesn't have anything of those. So at this point we have just a massive amount of units rushing towards that army of ShoWTime. I don't think you can even call that an army. And this is... ShoWTime is getting pummeled on the ground right now.
Yeah, this relentless aggression over here by Hyun, non-stop, ever since right off the get-go. And ShoWTime, well, this has just been a very frustrating game. It's just one of these games where if one thing goes wrong, literally everything is going to go wrong. He's going to try to recall these Stalkers out. That's a cute move, but he's still going to end up losing 2 of them. And it doesn't change the fact that he has absolutely no answer to these Hydralisks right now. That, of course, got both upgrades already. They've got Grooved Spines, they've got Hydra speed as well. Well, there's just no way that ShoWTime is ever going to hold this.
There's another 50 Zerglings that he's building behind this to just rush across the map. He's spreading his creep. The Zerglings, though, like the Hydras even ignore the third base. They're like, yeah, why would we go for that? We can just like take down the main base now. Trying to go up there. The Stalkers are trying to blink away and get the most amount of damage in, but here comes Hyun once again, taking down Stalker after Stalker. The Lynx are rushing into close distance, and there it is, GG, as Hyun takes game number 1 in his match against ShoWTime.
And very convincing fashion as well, we have to add. But this, as silly as this sounds, because you may just look at this game, you're like, man, that was a complete stomp. Like, that wasn't even close. These guys, they're not even on the same level.
It came down to 1 unit.
Yeah, it came down to the very beginning of the game. ShoWTime has his gear set on 4 gateway aggression. The last thing he wants to do is warp in units at home. And to make it even worse, he lost a pylon at home. He was forced to warp in 2 more Zealots, and then his pylon on the other side of the map, which was supposed to be protected then by a Zealot, a Mothership Core, maybe 2-3 more Zealots, or I would prefer to go for Stalkers because your opponent is going to have slow links. But even if you just wanted to go for Zealots, that would have been fine. It's a completely different game if that one Zergling doesn't get that final tap on that sentry. It's a completely different game of StarCraft, and I know that's really hard to believe because this looked like a massacre, a stomp, a one-sided affair, but it wasn't. It would have been a completely different game if that sentry would have just been able to get his beam off a tiny bit quicker.
Especially after yesterday, what Hyun did here was exactly the same strategy that we saw from Jaedong. He went exactly for the gold expansion, and yesterday ShoWTime was trying to just not really go into any kind of early aggression, just sending one of the Zealots out to have a bit of a poking going. And this time apparently he looked at those games and was like, okay, I'm going to play the same map against my opponent again that I played yesterday against Jaedong. He started with the same build. This time I'm going to go all for 4 gates and I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to try to cancel one of those out. I like that too. Like, it was a good plan. It was a plan that he came up after the games yesterday, and then it's just this one tiny thing that completely turns around. And he actually saw that with the sentry too. He was trying to pull a few of his probes in to kill that Zergling in time, but with only 2 probes trying to help out the sentry, it was just not enough. And from that point on, it just all went south.
I really wonder what would have happened if he wouldn't have started running with the sentry and he would have just let that sentry fight that Zergling. Because sentries like they work in a weird way, like the way that damage goes, because it's a beam rather than like a real shot or like a straight up attack. I'm not even sure if he would have lost that one-on-one fight, because that Zergling was already very low on HP. Either way, it was a very unfortunate chain of events for ShoWTime. There's only one thing he can do, man. Just like forget about that game. Like that was as frustrating as they get. Like if I would have been playing that game of StarCraft, man, my language would have been PG-13 for sure. My mom would have not been proud of the things I would have said, because that was horrendous. It's just one of those games where everything goes wrong right off the get-go.
It reminds me again of that Bling series yesterday, where the admins that were sitting in the booth with him were saying like he was very explicit about his feelings when that last game happened, what exactly went on there.
Yes.
But yeah, we're going into game number 2, which is going to happen on Coda. So ShoWTime is down 1 game in the best of 3 series, and we are in the losers match, meaning of course that if he doesn't win here, he is out of the tournament, which would be very unfortunate for him. Now, in the game itself, we have him up to the top left in blue this time. It's the Protoss player from Germany, down 1 game in the best of 3. It is ShoWTime. Bit unfortunate in the first game, and we're gonna find out if in the second one he can best the Zerg player, starting down to the bottom right. It is the Korean, it is Hyun. A very solid performance in game number 1, exploiting that one mistake from ShoWTime there, taking the opportunity and just capitalizing on that mistake. Endless aggression against the Protoss player. Very strong performance, but let's see if ShoWTime can this time just change things up a bit.
Yeah, it's been a very rough week of StarCraft so far for ShoWTime. Of course, that massive disappointment of not qualifying for WCS Season 2, that really kind of mentally breaks you as a player. And then he probably just looked at it, it's like, well, I already said I was going to go to Gfinity, I'm going to go anyway. Maybe, you know, this can change things up. What if I have an amazing run here, then everything is forgotten about. Of course, it hurts not being part of WCS Season 2, but if ShoWTime would have a great run here, a quarterfinal or semi-final, that definitely helps to ease the pain a little bit, you know. Then suddenly life looks a little bit more beautiful at you and everything is just smiling at you. But so far this is just the complete opposite of probably what he was hoping for. It's just more of that horrendous PvZ series he had against Elaser, and it's continuing. You know, the series against Jaedong did not go the way that he wanted, and this game number 1 in the Hyun, well, that was probably the most frustrating game of StarCraft 2 that he has played in a little while. And it seems like Hyun is actually going to take the hatchery on the other side of the map, perhaps anticipating a Nexus first build over here by ShoWTime, but that's not the case, so I don't think this is all that bad for ShoWTime.
Yeah, ShoWTime also seeing it and putting the pylon down there immediately, as you already said, it's not a Nexus first build for him, so he should be able to do that. He sends a lot of the probes down now to take that out as fast as he can. That's of course mining time lost.
6 is not enough actually. I think this hatchery will still gain HP very slowly, but we take a look at it. But I think it will still gain HP. No, okay, it's actually losing HP with 6 probes. I thought you needed 7. But as you can see, it's very slow, so this hatch eventually is going to stay there for a long time. The Zealot, of course, will be able to cancel it. I do like this a lot. Yeah. ShoWTime is already thinking about what's happening on the other side of the map, dropping that pylon, and he's like, hey, you're blocking my expand, I'm blocking your expand. So
that's actually a very, very smart move here. First of all, of course, he knows that his own expansion is going to be delayed by quite a lot, so he needs to make sure that he pulls something similar at the other end of the map. But he's also aware that the only thing that Hyun is going to do is just like move over to the 3rd position and take that hatch first, which is the case right now. The cancel already there as the Zealot emerged.
You have to be very careful that it doesn't go down again. I've made that mistake, and then you get very, very upset with yourself. He almost has enough. Oh,
wow.
Oh, okay. Oh, my god. Oh my god. This is really. I hope that the ShoWTime is aware that Hyun is that serious about getting this hatchery down again. But yep. Okay. Finally, he will be able to take the care of that drone.
Well played.
Yeah. Of course, Hyun did just drop his expand, and where you would normally say you take your 3rd base. But there is a good chance. I think that probe actually went into the main base, and he saw there is no gas on the way. Yeah, that's the one drone that's got 1 kill. He's different than all these other drones. He's seen things, Calder.
He has a story to tell.
He has taken the life of a probe.
Yeah.
But ShoWTime knows that the gases are late, so if he wants to put on a little bit of gateway pressure again, like I think this is a perfect scenario to put some 3, but I would prefer 4 gateway pressure against a Zerg that's on 3 bases but doesn't have gas. You know, get a Zealot, he already has one, and then just start warping in a couple Stalkers, and after that supplement those Stalkers with Zealots, and you can micro for days as a Protoss player. So I kind of hope ShoWTime is going to do that, because I think if he throws down the Stargate right now, I'm not gonna say it's the wrong thing to do, but I feel it's just kind of giving Hyun the freedom that he wants to get. Because let's not forget, of course, Hyun delayed the expand of ShoWTime, but that was also a small economic hit to Hyun's own economy. He didn't get his hatchery down at the same time as he wanted to, and he saved up resources he used on the other side of the map.
I would really like to see ShoWTime get into this mindset again that he showed against Jaedong yesterday, especially on the second map when he was like able to just like get so much damage in there. And he outsmarted Jaedong in a lot of ways, but then in the end the Zerg play was just a bit stronger. For now, we have the Zerglings scouting upwards at the top lane again, trying to take down a few of the Harvesters too, but with the Zealot there, he's not losing anything, so that was already well deflected by ShoWTime. Just making sure that he doesn't take any losses there. The mistake in the last game, probably a big blow to his confidence too, but so far this game he's been playing very solid, and that should help him.
Yeah, I like what our observer is showing us. Excellent map vision by Hyun. He has a little bit of vision, map presence everywhere. A couple Zerglings, a couple Overlords here and there. Wants to make sure that nothing too crazy is going on. We got 2 gateways going up in the front. So this probe is very important, by the way, but because of Hyun's excellent Overlord positioning, he should be able to see this probe, right? And that is a big tell, because I think there's a very good chance ShoWTime is going to throw up 1 more gateway, maybe into his main base. So then instead of 3 gateway aggression, we're looking at 4 gateway aggression, and that does change everything.
Pylon goes down already. Hyun saw the probe, of course, so he should have a few units heading over there in just a few seconds. And there they are. Zerglings are trying to find where exactly that probe is hidden, and it is a Stargate.
Okay. Well, that's kind of cool as well, because since Hyun did see that probe march across the map, maybe ShoWTime is like, alright, I don't want to commit too much to this, because there is a good chance that he's going to be able to take care of this. Hyun is still droning, by the way. He's not respecting this in the way he should, Kaldor. I say respect that gateway aggression.
Especially after yesterday. I mean, we saw that Oracle get how many kills? 35? No, more than 40 actually. Like, he controlled that extremely well. Now we have a few Zerglings trying to take the Pylon down, but with the Mothership Core in position, there's just no way for that to happen. He gets the shields off, but he sends more units up to the top, but this time ShoWTime is ready.
Yep. But those Zerglings did spot that Stargate. That helps a little bit. There's one Stalker that's way out of position. Like, what are you doing there, little guy? I guess he's going to try to meet up with the Mothership Core, where there are a couple Stalkers. So he's still sort of doing what I thought he was doing, but it's all arriving a little bit later than what I think he was going to do. Because if we take a look at Zergling speed, it's probably going to be ready in, let's say, 15-20 seconds. Yeah, something like that. So he's still going to force out a lot of links. Maybe he can kite for a little bit. Maybe he can take down a couple Zerglings. Even though the Zerglings are working on that pylon on the high ground. So this is a very tricky scenario now, because Zergling speed is done. So now you want to be very careful with the Stalkers. He's probably just going to recall out immediately.
He needs to. Like, there's nothing that he can do. Against the Zerglings with speed, there's just no chance. He doesn't have enough units. He didn't have the warp in there available, and even with it, it wouldn't have been enough. There are too many Zerglings on the map already. ShoWTime is also supply blocked after losing that pylon, so that's a bit of an upset, but he has 4 pylons that are being built. That Oracle that he has now is going to be extremely important. Yesterday, he did an amazing job against Jaedong, keeping the Zerg player close and always posing that threat to the economy, but today he has to do the same thing again, and Hyun is reacting already, throwing down 3 Spore Crawlers, and of course should be safe for now. He's even expanding again at the bottom left, taking his 4th before ShoWTime takes his 3rd.
Old school Hyun over here. He's going to play this as a true Zerg. This produce a ridiculous amount of units. I do not believe this Oracle is going to be able to do a whole lot of damage, but it will get actually a couple kills. That's 4 more kills than he got yesterday on Vani Research Station, so that's something to work with. It's really funny how it works though, because as a Protoss player, right, you put on some gateway aggression, and you're trying to force out as many Zerglings as possible. And then you do that, and suddenly the guy has a lot of Zerglings, and then you try to go up to 3 bases, and you're like, man, I have to worry about all those Zerglings I forced him to make, you know? So it's really funny how that works. But ShoWTime, he didn't overrush it. He got just the right amount of units, and now he's going up to 3 bases. And this is not all that bad for ShoWTime, but the worker count is kind of intimidating though. 75 drones against 55 probes. Ooh, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, he also have no idea about that 4th base that is coming, so with that, Hyun is going to have an incredible economy. He's already using that with his tech to get the first Hydralist into the game. We have Overseers coming into play to scout out exactly what's going on there, and he has upgrades, whereas we see now ShoWTime heading into Void Rays.
Yeah, that's very old school. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe he was worried about bigger Roachling aggression.
Maybe.
But it's actually like the opposite that's happening over here, because there are a lot of Hydralists on the way, and Hydras are very good against Void Rays. We do have an update as well from the lower bracket match in one of the other groups. as the Dutch Terran player U-turn was unfortunately for the Brits over here, the defeated Bling. Bling still had a great showing yesterday against SOS though. Very unfortunate he wasn't able to continue that impressive play against U-Thermal.
Yeah, with how good Bling currently is on ladder, like he mentioned yesterday that he's actually hit rank 1 and was doing extremely well there. It surprised me a bit that this is a 2-0, like a very clean victory apparently for U-Thermal. Yeah.
U-Thermal is a very strong Terran player though.
Yep.
He's definitely underrated. He recently has played a lot of TVP because he had to go up against Liubao in WCS Europe. That didn't go too well for him, but I had a small chat with him about it as well. He's like, man, I don't know what happened. I've practiced like crazy for that match and I feel pretty good in the matchup. It's just that day I just played like crap. Everybody has those days that sometimes that hits on the wrong day when you have a very important match. But overall, U-Thermal is a very strong Terran player in the European scene right now. So
and that practice definitely came through for him here.
Yeah.
Well, right now we're having Hyun still with that 4th base, so ShoWTime is currently falling behind in overall supply. We have Hyun also going for his upgrades. He's controlling the entire map. There is not a single spot on the map where you don't have like one unit for him, giving him vision. He knows everything that's going on. That's the 3rd base. We have a few Zerglings trying to rush in, scouting the position of the army. Hyun is going straight for that wedge between the 2 bases. Doesn't really have the Hydra count up here just yet though to really contest this.
Exactly. The supply looks intimidating right now, like 192. Oh my god, but let's not forget that there were like 22 roaches on the production tab, so it still takes a little while before all these roaches made their way across the map. Yeah, ShoWTime has done a marvelous job with scouting with hallucinated phoenixes throughout the entirety of this game. Dropped a revelation or 2 as well. He knows what he's up against. He has not decided to drop a Templar Archives or a Robotics Bay just yet, so he's going to try to take care of these Hydras with force fields, which means that engagement of this army is going to be more important than ever. Like Stalkers, they're kind of clumsy, sucky units, I would say. I want to use a different word, but I'm not going to say that in situations like this, because Stalkers are kind of fat, right? So most of them can shoot at the same time when they are at a narrow choke point like that.
Yeah, but right now a massive army here in position for Hyun. He has the roaches in the back. He's using the range on the Hydra list to dish out damage against the wall, taking out all of the gateways, limiting production of course as well to a certain extent at least. The Hydra's in good position, and look at just once that army to the right side moves down there, it's just attacked by 2 flanks and he can't really afford to do that. He's being forced back already. Force fields being used by ShoWTime here. He's actually doing quite well really considering.
I think he's doing very good so far. He's not overcommitting and he's really using those sogs on the right side. Like I said, they're kind of clumsy. They're fat units. Most of the time they can't shoot all at the same time. But ShoWTime has done a really good job defending both his natural and his ramp on the right side. He's going to end up losing a couple of sentries over here, but not before he took care of all the Hydra lists. He's going to take care of these roaches as well. Wow, what a great hold by ShoWTime.
Really well done. The patience that he's shown, especially with the units to the right of the 3rd base, was great, using those force field zoning. Hyun was ready for it. Hyun was saying like, okay, if you attack the units that are going into your natural, I'm just gonna crush you from 2 sides, and that never really happened. ShoWTime suddenly finds himself in a very good spot here. He's still a bit behind in overall supply, but he now suddenly has that force on the map with the upgrades that he needs to just execute some serious pressure against the bases of his Zerg opponent.
Yeah, no, he did an absolutely great job over there. He's going to try to counterattack. Burrow is something that scares me a little bit because we don't have a single observer on the map, but there is one on the way, so that is very nice. He still has that Void Ray as well. Like, that may have looked like an easy hold, right? It may seem to you guys like, oh man, the cats are really overhyping this. Like, wow, he dropped some force fields, big deal. But that was actually not easy at all. ShoWTime needs to wipe in his Zealot, and he does do that. He still has that safety cannon as well. That's going to absorb a little bit of damage, and then these defensive Zealots should be able to take care of it.
That was a close call.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's going back with his entire army. It's not the end of the world. He's getting a Templar Archives as well, so to maybe take care of those Vipers that I think Hyun is going to produce. But once again, what a really great hold.
Yeah, and Hyun with very smart play here too. He's catching the Immortals. The blink away from the Stalkers totally exposes them. Both of them go down. And from Hyun's perspective, that was an amazing move there. He just went for counter aggression. He said like, alright, in a straight up fight, I'm gonna have a trouble fighting against this army. Used a few units to distract ShoWTime. Now suddenly it's a whole different ballgame. Just look at the numbers on these Stalkers. They are just falling one after another. Their hit points are low already, and the Hydra's moving in for another few kills. There comes the Photonova charge at the 3rd base. Lings are still in the natural and trying to go into the main base.
They killed everything. These Zerglings, these 4 or 5 Zerglings, has ravaged the entire mineral line of ShoWTime. It's natural. 23 workers have gone down over here for him. He's gonna wipe in a couple of Zealots on the other side of the map because he just doesn't have any gas anymore. He's been making Stalkers throughout the entire game. He's been wiping in a ridiculous amount of sentries. He lost those Immortals. He has lost way too much gas for a 3-base Protoss to also get High Templars and Storm and stuff at the same time. So that's why his mineral count was high. Oh man, ShoWTime must be kicking himself right now. Not renewing that wall in the natural. That's where this went all downhill for him. Those Zerglings, those first 10-15 Zerglings, they started it all. Then he retreated. His army wasn't ready to deal with the forces of Hyun in the middle of the map. And once again, it just all went downhill from there.
He was in such a good spot, like having the army out on the map, trying to just like take down one of the bases of Hyun, and Hyun realized that he could never really fight that army head on, so he just like used the Zerglings as a distraction, and suddenly he was thinking, hey, wait a second, I can actually kill a lot of stuff here, and now he moved up, got the 2 Immortals, which was extremely important, and finds himself in another great position here. With a good army supply, he has his 4 bases still, he goes into a 5th already, his economy is just absolutely gigantic, he has a Hive Tech, goes into Adrenal Glands, plus 3 armor, the second attack upgrade for the Zerglings is coming in now too. In terms of economy, he's so good, using the Vipers here against the Void Prism even to take that out, so that he doesn't have to deal with it any longer. We saw Jaedong actually struggling against it yesterday.
I totally agree with you, Keldor, but right now, I kind of like ShoWTime's army. He has quite a few Storms. Storms are great against Hydralisk, especially if they're just bathing in them. These Storms are ridiculous.
He's really taking so much damage right now. Hyun sacrificing so many of his inputs. He doesn't have the numbers anymore, Kevin. He doesn't have them. The Stalkers blink forward, take down Hydra after Hydra, and Hyun is on the run. Hyun is on the run, completely underestimating this army, but Roaches are coming out into play. He has 2 Immortals by now. The Stalkers are going for it. The Vipers go down, trying to go for the Blinding Gloves. The Blinding Gloves in this situation not good enough, and he's suddenly just moving back once again. Hyun is losing way too much here. In army supply, he's still ahead, but this entire army that we're seeing for ShoWTime is doing so much work.
Okay, this is where it gets tricky over here, right? Because 33 Roaches on the way. There are no more Archons. It's just Stalkers, and Stalkers on creep can have a pretty hard time dealing with Roaches. I think ShoWTime should just be happy with the damage that he did over there, with the damage to the army that he's done. Go back. Don't try to micro on creep against these Roaches. It's not going to end well for you. You're a 4-base Protoss against maybe a 5-base Zerg, but that's a 5-base Zerg that's on Roach Hydra. I think ShoWTime did an absolutely great job over there, and I think over here with Photon Overcharge, he will be able to hold.
Yeah, that was a very, very nice move by him. He did so
Great
much
timing.
damage, taking those units out, and those Storms completely annihilated the army of Hyun. He never saw those coming. He just moved right into them, took the full blunt of the damage, and now all of a sudden he starts to he has to worry about this game again. He's still in a great position. He still has his bases. He still has his tech up, but ShoWTime suddenly started a comeback that might put him in the position where he can overcome Hyun, especially with that 4th base now ready.
The only thing I'm a little bit worried about for Hyun is that he doesn't have that ultimate tech building, right? There are no Broodlords. There are no Ultralisk. And Roach Hydra, as good as it is, especially when they're supplemented by Vipers, you can drop a Blinding Cloud or 2, and he does have you know, magnificent upgrades on those Roaches and Hydras. At the end of the day, a Roach Hydra is probably not going to kill a 185, 190 supply Protoss army unless something goes seriously wrong and the Blinding Clouds are just out of this world.
I like really a lot that ShoWTime is splitting his army here. He made in like past games the mistake that he would send his entire army to deal with a push like this, but this time he keeps a few units at the 4th, and Hyun was immediately trying to go for it. But right now, there is a pretty massive Roach count there. The warp-in is ready. He needs to start microing though. He doesn't blink away with the Stalkers at the front because he's dealing with the attack at the 4th base.
Yeah, and he's doing it well though. Of course he was going to lose a couple of Stalkers, that's inevitable, but I think he has the right amount of Stalkers here to deal with these Roaches. An Observer would be so useful. I love the barrel play there by Hyun. That's so frustrating as a Protoss player. But these Storms, again, dealing quite a bit of damage. ShoWTime needs a few more units there though. I'm starting to worry about this Hydra push. He needs, because he's starting to run out of Storms. He needs maybe an Archon, a couple Zealots, that's going to be enough. Great burrow player, man. Hyun killed way more Stalkers than he ever would have if he wouldn't be burrowing all this time.
He's
really showing off the APM round.
He's burrowing there, he's making sure that his units get hit points back, and at the same time he's pressuring ShoWTime at the 4th base so that the Protoss player never really gets a chance to really focus on what's going on. The supply, on the other hand, is for the first time in ages in favor of ShoWTime. He suddenly took the lead there. He's at 150 against 144, has Immortals back in play, and as we already said earlier, Kevin, as you pointed out, there's no added tech for Hyun. He's only relying on Roach Hydra with great upgrades of course, but he doesn't have that high attack. And look at the count of High Templars that we are seeing suddenly for ShoWTime.
ShoWTime should know, man. Like, as soon as he gets 2 Immortals in his army, 2-3 Archons, and he has a couple Storms, the rest can be Blink Stalkers. There's absolutely no way he's gonna lose to Roach Hydra. Unless he would take the worst fight ever, you know, in Blinding Cloud, would just A-move everything right into the army of Hyun. But knowing how good ShoWTime can be in this matchup, with these supplies and these army compositions, I think it's safe to say that for the first time in any of the games that ShoWTime has played this weekend, he is actually ahead.
Yeah, he's looking really strong here. We have 5 matches or 5 bases still for him. And at this time, once again, the Roach is up here at the top trying to do the damage. Of course, always sniping away those probes. We have 4 kills already against those. Harvester count is still pretty solid, especially for ShoWTime, so it's currently at 67. Hyun is still using that burrow and the burrow movement just extremely well, having roaches everywhere, trying to sneak into the mineral lines to make sure that he gets even more kills against the economy. But I feel that right now, ShoWTime is starting to stabilize a lot. It would still be great to see even more observers on the map so that he has a bit of vision.
Yep, but he has a couple of them, so he should be alright. That army in the middle of the map, that is a Protoss army you don't want to mess with. A couple of voices going down. Man, he's thinking that he did that very quickly, by the way. As a Protoss, I have to admit, I've always sucked at controlling sentries and High Templars at the same time. Because on paper, that's a dream combination, right? You drop the force fields and you storm, like, yeah! But whenever I do it, I just like, I goof it up.
The donut,
like,
man.
All
the donut.
all the time, I just mess it up. And ShoWTime made that look easy. He dropped that very quick, so good mechanics over there by him. We can see a little bit of first-person view as well from a German Protoss, who still is in a magnificent position.
The storms again, like he just forces Hyun back here over and over again.
But there are Ultras on the way. Ultras are not super scary because he does have 3 Immortals.
Yeah.
But they are scary against all these sentries, a couple of these High Templars as well. And ShoWTime has been a little trigger happy with his storms over the last few minutes. Again, a very early storm. He needs to drop better storms. These are better storms. I think they're doing a lot of damage. He needs to improve his position. He needs to get an high ground. Feedback's going down. No Blinding Clouds. That's awesome. No abducts either.
He's getting 1. Does he get the second? No, he doesn't, but he goes for the base. And this is now the first time that Hyun actually takes severe damage here. What? Immortals, the first one down, the second one dying too. That's bad news because those Ultralists are going to emerge very soon. And up to the top, we have another attack towards that third base. Once again, the Roaches. There is a cannon. He blinks in, tries to take them down, gets a few shots in, but without an observer in the place. Here comes one, but he's a bit too late.
Man.
Doesn't get the kill yet.
I love this game, Keldor. I truly love this game. There's been so much action all over the place. Great multitasking by Hyun. Great, you know, swings back and forth, but who's winning, who's losing. A couple of mistakes as well. That was an unforced error, leaving those Immortals so exposed. It's a big mistake, especially because those Immortals were the most important units in the army to deal with the next big thing that Hyun is going to throw at ShoWTime, which are these bad boys, the Ultras. Don't take this fight, man. Don't take it right now. You don't have enough Immortals. You're going to fight on creep against Queens as well. He doesn't want to take this fight.
He can't build any. He's at 200 supply. He immediately throws
Sacrifice
down a
Zealots.
second. I love this move, by the way. I really like it. He builds 2 additional 2 additional observatories right now. Try robotics. A little bit in the wrong game. Making sure that he gets the triple Immortal production going as soon as he frees up some supply, which is exactly what he's doing there. I really like that. And for Hyun, this actually starts to become, I don't want to say a bit of a Hail Mary just yet, but he lost his 5th base and he's building it again. And he's been mining from those bases that he has at the bottom right for a long time. He's running out of minerals.
Yeah, and it's definitely a race against the clock, because right now I think Hyun's army is better than the army of ShoWTime, because ShoWTime has lost his Immortals. But if ShoWTime slowly but steady starts training out a few Stalkers and a few Zealots, maybe even a few Sentries, because I think his Sentry count is too high. This is exactly what he's doing. And he's doing it in such a great way, man. ShoWTime is finally, for the first time in like 4 games, he is showing us why he's still one of the hottest Protoss players in Europe. He has played freaking great this game.
Loving that. Like attacking at the bottom left, attacking at the right side. He's basically giving Hyun a taste of his own medicine right now. Trying to just multitask, attack 2 bases at once, showing the initiative on the map, and I'm loving it. The whole idea here is to throw some supply away so that he can finally build Immortals again, and that's what he's doing now. Triple Immortal production. He gets the Archons into play now too. We have so many. 4 Archons are coming in, and this is great for him. He just threw supply away, killed a base with this, and he has even a wall there, a pretty cool one against the Ultralists. This is amazing. I'm loving it.
Yeah, man. I mean, we all know, you know, this is London subway station. You have to go through those little ports, and it's annoying. Well, these Ultras have to go through the ports of the pylons, and they will just get squashed right after immediately if this army right there would be waiting for him. I do still think his sentry count is way too high. Like, I think there is no need for 12, 14 supply of sentries. I mean, definitely has points for days. Maybe he can use some hallucinations. I would actually love to see him use hallucinations. He's going to drop a couple of storms. This is such a wild engagement on both sides. Come on, use the energy and all these sentries.
And here we go. The storms again to the right side, taking everything down. The Ultralists are still alive on the focus fire with the Stalkers taking them on one by one. The Queen's even helping out with that in overall supply. We're looking at a great advantage for ShoWTime right now. He's taking this fight. The Immortals are going full ham on all of those Ultralists. They're taking them down one after another. And Hyun just lost everything.
Yep, he did do quite some damage on the right top side of the map. If we can take a look at that real quick, would be awesome, because I think there are Zerglings ravaging that base. Actually, those are a couple of roaches. All those two roaches, they were facing each other while shooting at different buildings. That looked really funny. But overall, this is still an absolutely phenomenal position for ShoWTime to be in. He has more supply, he has a better army, he has better tech. Okay, he has to be a tiny bit careful that he doesn't start running around too much, but left a couple of Zealots behind. You can't burrow next to a cannon, Hyun. Even if your name is Hyun, you can't do that. He's going to take it down that Nexus. That's a very nice pickoff for him, but it doesn't change the fact that Hyun right now has 6 army supply.
GG, and ShoWTime takes game number 2 and ties the series up. Great play there. That was actually amazing. I mean, at the beginning we saw great moves by ShoWTime, then suddenly he's in one of those positions where he forgets to rebuild his wall at the natural, and that of course causes Hyun again, or opens up another opportunity for Hyun to do damage to the economy, and it looked pretty bad for ShoWTime there, but he comes back into the game, fights his way back, and now we have a third map between the two of them. Totally loving the series, Kevin.
Yeah, no, this was the best game of the tournament so far, in my opinion. I haven't seen every single game because we got 2 streams going on at the same time, and some games are being played simultaneously, but I really think this was the best game of the tournament so far, the best game that I have seen at least, and it's so awesome for ShoWTime that he doesn't go out of this tournament 0-4 with 4 frustrating games. That would have been terrible.
Yeah, I mean, for him, that was absolutely great. Of course, also for his confidence. If you lose too many of these games there, if you lose now again, then also for his entire career, that would be a pretty big downfall. Losing WCS and then already saying, okay, I'm leaving Alternate right now, and then coming into like Gfinity, losing the entire tournament without even like winning a single map. Now he has a chance of advancing, and Hyun is definitely feeling the pressure.
Yep, our final map is going to be played on Iron Fortress. That is not going to be an easy map for ShoWTime. But before we're going to go ahead and join the final game of this series, we're going to do something else real quick. So stay tuned and we'll see what's coming up next.
제 이름은 고석현이고 한국에 살고 있으며 현재는 로켓 소속으로 활동 중입니다. 게이머를 오래 하면서 뭔가 노하우라는 거 그런 게 좀 생긴 거 같긴 한데 오히려 나이가 많다 보니까 군대 문제가 좀 큰 거 같아요. 나이를 좀 많이 먹다 보니까 게임을 좀 하루라도 쉬면은 기본기가 많이 떨어지더라고요. 그래서 웬만하면 거의 안 쉬고 게임을 평소에도 많이 하려고 하는 것 같아요. 최근에는 오히려 게임이 너무 잘 돼가지고 계속 게임을 하고 싶은 생각이 있는데 예전에는 몇 번 정도 있었던 것 같아요. 게임을 그만두고 싶다는 생각을 한 적이 있었던 것 같아요. 이번 대회에서 무서운 선수는 딱히 없는 것 같아요. 왜냐면 제가 최근에 게임이 너무 잘 되다 보니까 자신감에 이제 차 있는 상태에서 이 대회에 온 것 같아요. 그래서 무조건 우승을 해야겠다 생각을 하고 있어요. 1년 전에 런던에 와가지고 이제 준우승을 했던 기억이 있는데 그때는 정말 준우승하고도 뭔가 마음적으로 별로 좋지가 않았어요. 그래서 이번에는 꼭 우승을 해가지고 기쁜 마음으로 런던을 좀 재밌게 즐기다 갔으면 좋겠어요.
Pretty nice piece that we had there on Hyun, and it's actually like really interesting to see his thoughts there, because he's completely right. Pro gamers that get older always like think at some point about retiring. We had like most of the big names actually talking about it recently. Hyun saying that he feels really good here coming to the tournament and with the practice that he had. But of course, we find him here in the losers match, and against a German player. If he loses another map, then he is out of the tournament. That would definitely be a bit of a blow to him. But he has a good chance here, and I feel like this series right now, I'm just looking forward to the third map because that was real fun so far.
Yeah, I thought the most surprising thing what he just said, and that's a very cool segment, by the way. I love stuff like this. Gives us a much better view of how, you know, players behave when they're not just sitting in the booth and they're not just playing StarCraft. And Hyun is really like this. He's such a relaxed, happy guy. Whenever you see him at an event, he will always come up to you and give you a hug. So these pieces are awesome, by the way. But I think I was very surprised to say, like, last year I got second and I wasn't very happy with that. And this year I want to do better. I think the lineup for this Gfinity is a lot harder than the one that we had last year. There are way more top Korean players this time. I guess it's mostly because he lost in the final against Bunny. Yeah, and that has to sting a little bit, you know, because Hyun, he's not used to losing finals against foreigners, even though he's dropped a couple against Snoot as well in CVZ series. But I think that's like probably the overwhelming feeling for him. It's like, man, I don't mind losing in the final, but like against Bunny, I think I would or maybe should have been able to win this tournament. But Bunny was, you know, a monster back then, and he still is. Yeah, I think he even got better. And for Hyun, I think a lot of people would debate whether or not he's a better player than he was in 2014. Well, doesn't change the fact that we are loaded in to game number 3, a very important game between these two awesome players.
And starting to the top right, we have our Protoss player. It looked a bit desperate for him on the map number 2 at some point. He was down, and this time he came back. He made his way back into the third game, tied the series up. It is ShoWTime. Great play in game number 2. In game number 1, just one small tiny mistake, throwing it all away there and not giving his Zerg opponent to the top left here on the map. A harder fight here on Iron Fortress. We're having to the top left the Zerg from Korea. It is Hyun.
I'm already very interested to see what the boys in the analysis room have to say about that previous game. I think if there was one mistake, I really think Hyun could have added like that ultimate tag building a lot quicker. The Ultralisk Cavern or maybe a Spy to go up to Greatest Spy and Broodlords. But I felt like he didn't do it, and then when he was forced to take that one very bad fight where all of his Hydralisks were just bathing in the storms, and like he was forced to remax on roaches and he burned most of his bank because he had like over 3,000 minerals, over 2,000 gas. He could have easily been going up to Ultralisk a lot quicker. But I still think it was just a great game, and once more I can't emphasize enough on how important this is for ShoWTime just mentally. It would have been just disastrous for him to go to Gfinity right after he lost in WCS, go out 0-4, couple of the games very frustrating, nothing really going his way. Like if he would have lost that last game, that would have been unfortunate, but then it would have just been, well, you know, it was just straight up PvZ, the guy played better than me. But the games before, just so annoying, like things that go wrong, unforced errors. But instead, he played a great game and he can feel really good about it.
Yeah, he's gonna have a lot of confidence coming now into the series here. And in the last one, I mean, it just looked for a long time like Hyun really thought, alright, I nearly have him. I just can't crack him if I keep up the pressure, if I get my upgrades and I don't need to transition. And once that ShoWTime really just started with the defense, got the storms in there, he was able to turn things around here. In the game at hand, though, we're having Hyun opening up with a pool into expand. On the other side of the map, though, ShoWTime with a Nexus first, losing his scout, though.
Yeah, not too much he could do about it. Really good movement there by Hyun. He didn't just right-click on that probe. You could really see that he moved, he attacked, and then he moved immediately again to make sure he got as many hits off on creep as possible. Because off creep, Zerglings are a tiny bit quicker than probes, but if that probe is on full HP, it will always make it home safe. But on creep, obviously, Zerglings are quite a bit quicker, even without Zergling speed, so that was really well done. One of these slow moves. You know what? When I see that last game, there's actually quite a few Zerglings, quite a few slow Zerglings that Hyun is producing over here.
And there's nothing yet. He's chrono boosting the Zealotyn. He has one already, but that's a lot of links that are streaming cross map. Hyun with a lot of aggression against this Nexus first.
He's gonna get this pylon. There's no freaking way that ShoWTime is gonna be able to keep this pylon alive. Mothership Core ShoWTime. Why is he not starting it?
Really tricky out. This is looking extremely bad for ShoWTime here. He lost the pylon already. Now he's supply blocked. He can't build anything anymore.
Yeah, no, he really should have started that MS core way quicker. He let, I believe, 2 probes finish before he started that Mothership core. He should have started it immediately. I do not think he's gonna lose the Nexus because he can always pull probes. But it's, well, actually, Hyun is just still slow link attack to the other side of the map. You have to pull workers, ShoWTime, and you have to pull workers now.
I think it might already be too late. I mean, just look at the minimap. There's another 4 Zerglings coming over here at third base for Hyun, already building at the same time. And that Nexus is just going to be focused down by him. Here come the probes that try to take down the Lynx one by one, but it's not enough. He loses the Nexus. The base is gone, and the Lynx immediately move out. There were a few still in the main base. This is horrible for ShoWTime.
Oh man, he just played such a great game on Coda, and now this happens in the start of this game on Iron Fortress. You know, I would be lying if I said this has never happened to me, because it has. And I can tell you how angry it made me. It's like, why is this guy making so many slow Zerglings? This doesn't make any sense. But it's just one of these things, you see it happen, you're like, ah, a couple Zerglings, that's annoying, I'll take care of it soon. And then suddenly, it's too late. You're like, man, that's a lot of slow Zerglings, I need to pull workers. And then it's just already a little bit too late, you end up losing the Nexus, and, well, that's just horrific for your economy.
Yeah, and especially with Hyun already having a third base, he just finished up, so he's currently looking at 26 or 27 workers to 27. With all the production that he has now, he can just like throw down workers, he can even like try to pressure that natural again, but of course once that the next is done, the mothership core that we have now finally in the game can throw down a photon overcharge. But the position for Hyun is just amazing. He can go into a standard style game right now and have a massive lead.
Yeah, well, man. I don't really know what to say, because this is such an unusual scenario, but obviously it's very good for Hyun. He took a risk there, but he saw the base, he saw the way that it looked, and on Iron Fortress, the distance between your main base and your natural, like that's quite a while for probes. It's not like you pull workers and they are right there to protect him immediately. Something like he just did would never work, let's say, on Vani Research, where you have name base expand. It's something that very specifically would work on this map with these spawning locations, I guess. I think cross map, it's already a lot less intimidating.
Look what Hyun is doing right now. He has units everywhere on the map, scouting for potential proxies, scouting for anything that could possibly be on the map, for a pylon, for some kind of hidden tech, because he knows that ShoWTime is in a really desperate position right now, that he's way behind, and one of the things that he could do is just try to hide some tech somewhere on the map and try and surprise your opponent. Hyun is very well aware of that, and he's saying like, I'm going to scout everywhere to make sure that doesn't happen.
There is a circling counter, but this time ShoWTime left enough units at home. He drops that force fields to make sure that no units squeeze by. He doesn't end up losing one of his sentries, so that's very well done for him. But, you know, it doesn't change the fact that there are 46 workers right now for Hyun on the map. He's up 10 workers in an 8 minutes and 40 seconds game. I can guarantee you normally Protoss is not 10 workers ahead. This little poke is actually doing quite well. It's delaying the mining a little bit. He's getting 2 drones so far. The third one is actually not mining either because it's morphed into an extractor. Don't end up losing the mothership core though. That's the one mistake you don't want to make, and he doesn't.
Wow, Zealot left behind, that poor guy. This is not Ohana, not a family moment. The Zealot goes down and not getting recalled here. But yeah, this little poke taking a few of the drones down, but 17
22 before it. My Protoss heart hurts when I see that array. Do you know how many Nexi I need to produce 22 probes at the same time? 22.
22?
That's just unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah, he's playing the game of drones, taking a page out of Red's book.
That's sick. Okay, so Hyun, he just played it safe before. He had a lot of lava saved up. So he was already ahead in the worker department. Now he's just miles ahead. He's up 24 workers over his opponent.
He has more worker supply than ShoWTime has overall supply.
Oh my god. That is a very painful conclusion that I did not make that myself.
I should have spared you, I guess.
Yeah.
The Protoss heart of Gavin is bleeding now. We're having the scout also for ShoWTime, so he's going to actually see how far he's behind at this point. The lair tech is completed. Roaches are being built, Boro upgrade. Like, Hyun is doing everything that he's not going to like lose this game to some kind of shenanigans, playing it safe and sound here. A lot of units on the map in just a few seconds. We have a third base coming up for ShoWTime now. So ShoWTime is trying to establish that third. The only question is he going to be able to get that through?
Yeah, he got a couple of Zerglings, but I'm afraid now. This is a very wide open map, and Hyun is producing a ridiculous amount of roaches and nothing but roaches. He's getting burrow as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see tunneling claws being fired up right after roach speed is done. And on this map, Iron Fortress, where it's already hard for Protoss to go up to 3 bases, ShoWTime is facing an almost impossible battle. I really hate to kill the hype. I want to believe that this is possible, but like the distance between the natural and the third base is so far. It's not like Coda, where you can leave a couple of units on the ramp and you can still drop force fields. They will still participate in the battle. Look at the travel distance between these two units. This is not a choke point either, where you can drop 3 or 4 force fields and you're done. He has a ridiculous amount of sentries, but he needs to drop the most defensive force fields ever. And I'm afraid that there's already a few too many links squeezing by, a few too many sentries going down.
And there are way too many of them dying. Yes, the roaches are currently zoned out, but the sentry count is dropping. he can send units over to the third base, and that's exactly what he's doing. The army supply 33 against 87. Highly in favor of Hyun, and the Unbelievable is making his way to the third base, sniping that cannon away, going straight for those pylons too. There's no weapon possible, and ShoWTime isn't even trying to defend it any longer. He's just saying, alright, this third base is gone, and Hyun by now is on 4 bases back at home. 4 bases against 2.
The more I look at this game, the more I wonder why ShoWTime did not veto Iron Fortress, and I would love to hear Harsim's opinion about that later on in the post-game interview, because I think this is such a difficult map for Protoss, and I haven't really met a whole lot of Protoss players yet that think this is a great map to play some PvT or PvZ on. So
there's a Zerg symbol in the middle of the map for a
I
reason.
know that there is a sign, like they created this map, like Protoss players, you're not welcome over here.
This is a warning right there. It's like, don't go there. Oh my god, look at that trap, like from every angle, those 2 Immortals, like if they get a few, and he even has a tunneling close by now as well. He's just pouring through the force fields. He's like, hey there, how you doing? And this is going to be the end of it. ShoWTime, he recalls back, saves himself for another few seconds, but army supply and overall supply are telling the story here.
Yep, it's very close to the scenario before, where there are more workers on the map for Hyun than there is overall supply for ShoWTime. The Roach gun is very high. This is always difficult to break though. Defensive 2-base Protoss that's sitting on Sentry Stalkers and has a couple of Immortals in the mix. But Hyun, he's almost maxed out on Roaches now. He's getting +2 on the way as well. He is maxed out at the 14-minute mark in a very action-packed game where he lost quite a few units too. I think that's quite remarkable to say the least. Gives us a flashback to the glory days of our very dear friend Ilias Satori, also known as Stefano.
Daybreak.
Yep. Antigua Shipyard.
12-minute Roach. 200 supply. Yeah. Well, right now we have once again the move in with the Roaches. The tunneling claws are coming into play. ShoWTime is trying to move away from them, but reinforcements are about to stream in. More Roaches being built by Hyun, and he's going straight for the Immortals. And here we go. The first one down, the second one about to be sniped. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be it most likely, unless ShoWTime can somehow pull off a miracle defense. He's blinking on the high ground, saving a few of the Stalkers, doing a good job with those, but the reinforcements of Hyun, they are everywhere. And Hyun is losing a fair amount of units, but he has the 4 bases, even the 5th base building right now to back that up. So all these trades, even if they are not perfect, they are still in his favor.
A miracle is not even good enough. He needs to make sure that Goku and Vegeta land out of the skies or something and suddenly join forces and start fighting for this Protoss army.
Somebody has been watching more Dragon Ball after the next one has been announced, right? Yeah, me too.
You got a little bit of hype going, man.
Exactly.
He needs to collect all the 7 Dragon Balls right now, then make a wish that maybe he can call in for reinforcements and 7 Immortals drop out of the skies. And they can turn into Super Saiyan Immortal 2 or something like that, because otherwise there are just way too many Roaches right now for Hyun.
The Roaches don't even know where to blink, like they're being attacked on both sides. He's blinking on the other one, but there's another force of Roaches for Hyun. So those Stalkers have no way to escape. And yes, he's just losing way too much here once again. And now finally there is the GG as Hyun takes game number 2, advances in Group A to the consolation match. Very well played by him. ShoWTime with an amazing effort on game number 2, but at the end of the day, it is the Zerg player that advances to the next match here at Gfinity.
I think this was an awesome start of our hopefully amazing day of StarCraft 2 action over here though at the Gfinity Championship. I think ShoWTime can feel very good about that game he played on Coda. He showed us why he's such a highly regarded Protoss player in Europe and that he still has what it takes. Unfortunately, game number 1, game number 3, just a couple of unforced errors, things just spiraling way out of control that they shouldn't have. The first game, those Zerglings. The last game, those Zerglings again, the Slowlings. I also think this is probably the last time in a while we see ShoWTime play on Iron Fortress, because Protoss players were just not welcome, and there is a big sign in the middle of the map saying this map is made for ZVZ and ZVZ only. Like Protoss players, Terra players, stay out. This is just a bar where we don't serve any drinks for you.
Losing against the Slowlings always has to be so frustrating. It reminded me a lot of MSC like a year ago when he lost to several players that went for, like Roro for example, who went for Slowlings against them, and MC just never seen them coming. In this game now, once again, Hyun with a bit of a risk there, but that Nexus first that we saw for ShoWTime just opening up to this aggression. Very well played here by Hyun, but for ShoWTime this must be a very, very frustrating defeat. First of all, map number 1 with that tiny mistake that snowballed. Then he comes back with map number 2 with an amazing display of skill and resilience, and then the third one once again falling in his trap. This must be extremely frustrating for him.
Definitely. Curious to see what the boys in the analysis room have to say about that, as they are ready to shine some light on our very first series of the day.
Thanks a lot for that, Roy. And it's always great to listen to you guys talking absolute Dragon Balls. I can say that without any hesitation. So yep, obviously we had a bit of a rough start. We apologise for the sound problems we had earlier. The NASL sound guy had infiltrated the Gfinity production. We've beaten him up and thrown him outside. So I'm Richard Lewis. This is the banter squad of the Muslim and Harston. Let's break down that game just a little bit, actually, because at the start we were talking about maybe ShoWTime. He has got the capabilities to have an upset, but Hyun was probably the favourite. And I don't know what it was. ShoWTime really had some, unforced errors is the best way to say it, like some uncharacteristic mistakes. Where do you think it all went wrong for him in games 1 and 3?
In game 1, I felt it went wrong really quickly, and this game it looked like he was on quite a big tilt. That's what it felt like. The small mistakes is what happens if you lose 10 ladder games in a row, and you're like, all right, let's go one more game before I go to bed, and you play 5 more, and you lose all of them. That's really what it felt like. He lost the sentry very early on. The 4-gate aggression failed completely. You go down to take your third, and you lose 4 or 5 more sentries, and the game is over, and you kind of want to stay in because maybe you have a chance, and it's all going downhill. And I think in that time he thought by himself, okay, I probably lost the game, but this isn't going to happen the second game for me. I need to be better unit movement mainly. I think his main problem was unit movement, and I think it went better in the second game for sure.
Yeah, well, we got an example of that in the second game. Now we'll bring up the replay for you guys at home, and you can just talk us through this, Ben. I know
actually,
you love both of these races, right?
I do love both these races. I know I'm an expert compared to Harston, but no, even this game initially, I don't think it was the best for ShoWTime. But here in this fight, he's caught between 2 bases here, but he manages to handle this very well. He's buying time. He's got cannons over on the left side, and he'll use force fields to try and keep the Hydras at bay, really deducing their damage. And right now, it's about ShoWTime buying time, trying to get his army bigger, trying to get this army worn down a little bit, because Hyun, he's as strong as he's ever going to get. So Hyun, he's trying to force the aggression here. Gets to kill the gateways at the front, which actually turns out to be really, really critical for him, because later on he does pile on in Zerglings and takes out every probe at the natural. But here, ShoWTime is just being very, very careful with how he positions. Again, really clean force fields. And here, kind of pulling Hyun's army out of position. And these force fields, his army's dealing so much damage while taking very, very minimal damage. And the supply numbers, 150 against 180, you see that slowly turning into ShoWTime's favor in this match. And half of Hyun's army isn't fighting, and just very, very clean play by ShoWTime, I gotta say.
Yeah, I love how he just went down that ramp, shot at the units, then goes back up, this tiny amount back up. And it just helps so much when you do that. All the roads are still bumping into the force fields, only 3 attacking. You're attacking his full army basically, shaving off units time after time. So really good defense there by ShoWTime.
So at that point, it's 1-1 in the series, and you think, well, maybe ShoWTime's going to get back into it. We go into the deciding game, and there were, like I say, just these mistakes again. It was like you say, he hadn't really put the negative mentality to bed.
Also, if you play Iron Fortress in a best of 3 as a final map, I think you're in a little bit of trouble already against Zerg. This is I'm not sure why he didn't veto it. I think Inferno Pools is a logical veto, and then the second veto I would always recommend Iron Fortress. It's an awful map against Link Road
how
aggression.
to take the third?
It's how to take the third. It's even the ramp of walling off is very difficult. It's a very, very big ramp, and the map in close positions is so small. It's easy to get links into your base. It's not a good map.
We've got a replay from that third map here. This is what I guess we would sort of describe as some counter aggression. Again, if you want to talk us through what's happening here.
Oh well, in the second map here, this is kind of where ShoWTime went on the aggressive. He thought he was in a good situation, and he was, but then he just lost 2 Immortals, and right there from the get-go, it's kind of close again. But ShoWTime, very, very, very precise with these force fields here, and despite having an inferior army, keeps working his way into a nice position, nice blinks. This is very hard to control on both sides, but you see, he's saving Stalkers on both sides, and gradually, he's just wearing Hyun down. But while all that was going on, one of the things that we didn't see, Hyun, his master plan was, we saw 23 probes die on screen there, and that was just several Lings getting into the base of ShoWTime. So despite Hyun kind of failing a little bit earlier with the attack, managing to use what damage he dealt earlier by breaking that wall and just getting Lings in, it was very nice by him. But ShoWTime kept his cool, kept his composure, managed to get a really good anti-Ultralisk Hydra army together, and went through with the win.
So enough about ShoWTime as well. Let's talk about Hyun. I mean, he's obviously still in the competition.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking at this and thinking he'd be one of the kind of names you would think could maybe make a run, deep into the tournament. Is that going to happen? I mean, he's struggling, you know, giving up maps against guys at ShoWTime.
When you say struggling, like this is the thing about ShoWTime. Like it's only just recently have we seen ShoWTime be a little bit uneasy and rocky against Zerg. Like before this and before WCS happened, like where he lost to Hydra and then he lost to a laser in the qualification. He was exceedingly strong against Zerg, and you can put him up against some real top dogs, and you can pretty much say that ShoWTime's possibly going to win. Like for example, Snoot. That's a name that everybody's heard of. ShoWTime was on pretty equal keel with Snoot for quite a while, I'd
Probably
say.
even ahead, I would say.
Yeah, like in Fragbite, he was doing in Snoot and doing very, very well. But that being said, like Hyun, he is a monster. He's a consistent beast. Like you'd throw him in Home Story Cup, he'd get to the final. Maybe he'd lose against Snoot, maybe he'd beat Snoot. Like he was a very, very big player. And the thing about his style is he gets going and then he just throws units at you.
Well, just while you're talking about what a monster is, we're going to show you an example of that. Where he just basically sort of, I don't know how to describe it with children watching. He just sort of comes at them from both sides, and it's quite brutal.
This is Hyun's style in a nutshell. Like he just overwhelms his opponent with far superior numbers, and the supply, that's one thing, but when you see how he does this, he's got units on every side. There is no way out of this situation, and this is just what Hyun does.
Well, I mean, you could say that ShoWTime's a bit like a rotisserie chicken here. He's just getting skewered at both ends, and
by Hyun, single-handedly,
by
you know.
Which again, a wonderful image for everyone at home there.
Yeah, but I felt like the final game was such a typical Hyun game. It's almost always the times that he wins. It's some early game pressure. Does some damage, sometimes doesn't do some damage, but it really throws you off. It throws you off your plan. Maybe your third base is delayed by 2 minutes. Even though you're not behind, it still feels weird. And Hyun is good in those different games. I wouldn't say weird in a way, because he always plays them. He knows how to play them. And he's very good at it. Then he goes into mid-game aggression, whether it be just pure Roach from, well, let's say 60 drones, or Roach Hydra from 67 drones. He's very, very good at those mid-game pushes, but if it goes to the later game stages, he's normally a little bit worse. His creep spread isn't as good as, let's say, a Snoot, a Solar. He's mainly the guy that does a lot of aggression and then just forces mistakes. And we've seen it work for, well, what is it, 5 years now? So,
a long time. Like he's very quick at getting the machine rolling, you know, and then he overwhelms you. But as the game goes on, as we saw ShoWTime in game 2, like ShoWTime managed to find a way to hold, and then he got into it.
Well, we're actually going to be able to pick the brains of the player themselves, because we haven't just got you guys here in the banter squad. We've actually got James Banks as well, who's going to be doing the interviews with the players. He's over in his interview hole, interview area, whatever you want to call it, with Hyun right now. So, James, how's things going?
Thank you, Richard. I'm joined by Hyun, and we're here ready to talk about what just went on and what a spectacular game that was to start us off with here. So, first map was absolutely crazy. Went in and grabbed that gold base straight away. What was his game plan going ahead with the first map there?
첫 번째 게임 엄청 수월하게 이긴 것 같은데 그때 경기에 대해서 뭐 무슨 생각하고 경기를 했는지, 전략이 뭐였었는지.
첫 경기는 이제 금 멀티를 먹고 최대한 부유하게 가자 해가지고 했는데, 이제 3멀티를 제가 최대한 많이 늦춰가지고 게임이 좀 쉽게 이긴 것 같았는데, 그래서 좀 쉽게 이기겠구나 이렇게 생각을 했는데, 이 경기에 지면서 좀 약간 긴장이 됐던 것 같아요.
So my game plan in the first map was to get the gold and then delay his third as much as possible, and I think it worked really well. But then in the second game, because of the second game, I was kind of stressed in the series.
Yeah, so on the second game, obviously it went in ShoWTime's favour, and in a way so that Hyun was at one point quite happily in the lead, doing very well, and just kept faltering and losing bits time and time again. What was going through his head at this point? How was he feeling? Because he looked so confident with these, as he executed his game plan in game 1 perfectly, and then game 2 it kind of just seemed to fall apart a little bit.
말했던 다시피 이제 1경기는 엄청 수월하게 끝냈었는데 2경기에서 좀 힘든 경기를 하면서 지게 됐는데, 그때 그 순간 이제 전투를 하면서 좀 지는 전투가 많이 나오고 그럴 때 무슨 생각이 들었나요?
두 번째 게임도 제가 많이 유리했는데, 왜냐면 저글링으로 이제 투베이스 프로브를 다 죽여가지고 이제 끝났구나 싶어서 이제 너무 좀 막 싸우다가 역전을 당한 게 아닌가 싶어요.
So because I was in the lead in the beginning, because I fought really well with my Zerglings, got a lot of probes, I thought I already had this game in my pocket. So I think I kind of controlled a little bit bad in the other fights. So I lost a lot of other fights and then eventually lost the game.
Well, he did manage to come back and he has won it, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, we saw the little bit of a mini interview prior to the game, and we saw that he was very confident now going into this, saying he can beat any opponent here. Obviously, he's come back to London. He came second at the previous Gfinity last year. Who's his biggest worry for this tournament at the moment?
지금 이번 대회에서 제일 어려운 상대가 될 수 있는 상대가 누구인지.
어제 인터뷰에서는 없을 것 같다고 생각을 했는데 제가 지금 좀 경기력이 별로 안 좋은 것 같아서 프로토스 좀 탑 플레이어를 만나면은 좀 힘들 것 같아요. 그래서 좀 한국인 프로토스들을 많이 안 만났으면 좋겠어요.
First, I thought I wouldn't be afraid of any of the players here, but I think my performance at the moment is not that good. So I think if I meet a really good Protoss player at the moment, it could be hard. So I would like to avoid the Korean Protoss players.
Well, hopefully he can avoid him and it goes his way. We're going to send it all the way back to the analyst desk and over to Richard and the guys. But thank you for your time, Hyun.
Well, thanks for that, James, as well. So there you go. We're hearing from the man himself. He said he did get a little bit stressed there. I don't think he's been in a perfect mindset yet since he's come to the tournament. Hasn't really settled. His games have proven to be difficult. But do you think, now that he's got the win under the belt, he's still in the tournament, maybe he can start to get going? Or do you think this is going to be characteristic as he moves on?
I think you get used to conditions as you're going through, and there in those games, that third game especially, he seemed to never be out of control, he killed ShoWTime very early on, and then it was 200 supply against 90. He felt in his comfort zone totally through and through. But yeah, he's an experienced player. He's one of the older ones here. I think he's around 27. But he did say he was worrying about the army, possibility of going there soon and such. So quite a bit on his mind. But he's a veteran. He really is.
The real question is, how old would he look on that app that everyone's using on Twitter?
I'm not sure. I don't believe in that app, Richard. I think it's.
Well, we'll bring up the bracket and we'll to get away from the fact that you looked 41 when you did it.
Yeah.
You can see how the bracket's kind of evolving. Hyun, they're beating ShoWTime. So he's obviously going to come up against the loser from the Jaedong and True game. How do we think that Jaedong and True is going to go, by the way? Jaedong looked very impressive yesterday.
A while ago, people talked about Jaedong. He was really, really good, but they specifically talked about Jaedong versus Zerg. It was actually a matchup of its own. It was JVZ. He just beat every Zerg out there, very handily. But Jaedong hasn't been the same for a while, and ZVZ in general has changed a lot since then. Mechanically speaking, Jaedong, perfect. You sit him down. When it comes to just raw, who's the fastest, who's the most accurate, you put Jaedong ahead of most people. But here, True, he's actually playing quite well. And the fact that True took down Hyun 2-0, already in a very tense and tough ZVZ, it's going to be close between these boys.
Well, looking forward to that. We're going to quickly go to a break shortly, but I just want to say, obviously, thanks a lot for coming on because you're going to go and cast some games now. So, obviously, thanks for your time and thanks for all your thoughts. And, of course, thanks to your dad. Do you want to give a shout out to him and why we're thanking him?
Thanks, Dad, for letting me borrow your shirt.
Actually, true. He lent his dad's shirt when he came in. So, thanks a lot, Mr. Harston, for that.
At least I'm not 40.
But look, we'll definitely hear from you later on. Enjoy casting the games. Thanks for your thoughts, Ben. You're going nowhere. Anyway, there you go. So don't go too far. We're going to go to a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to bring you more of the action from here at Gfinity. So don't go too far.